do a little bit more English talk. It's also like, for me, is a big challenge to be here in front of you guys and try to do a technical presentation in English, but it's also a good opportunity for me to learn new practice. So the talk that I'm going to do today is about GraphQL. I don't know how many people here know about GraphQL. That's good. So I hope you guys have like a little bit of like more an idea what it is in the end of this talk. Just to give a little bit of a context about myself, I'm a front engineer at ThinkMill. I work with like a lot of clients here in Australia. We do consulting for Westpac, Atlassian, and some clients in the United States too. So GraphQL. So to give a little bit of context what GraphQL is, GraphQL was created in 2012 by Facebook. The idea of this it is defined as a query language for APIs, and it was developed as an alternative for REST. REST, and the REST is standard for structuring queries on the server. For those who don't know what REST is, REST stands for Representational State Transfer. It's an architecture style that provides a standard to systems on the web to talk with each other, so it makes it easy to communicate between them. So what the people at Facebook, they were trying to solve with GraphQL, that they found there was some key problems with REST. Normally for fetching data, it would, for fetching complex object queries, you would need to require multiple calls to the server. So this is one of the issues that they want to just simplify things instead of having like multiple calls to the server. Another issue too is like, you get more than you ask for. With the REST API, they decide what the structure of the object is going to come as a response. So it means like sometimes you get more than you ask for, so you have much more information than you actually need. And another thing also that one of the key problems was about it was really hard to understand and get the information that was coming back from the server. So it wasn't very predictable, and it was a lot of hard to get and to understand what the REST API was giving you back. Sorry, jumped too much. So why GraphQL? Yeah. I started doing GraphQL a few months ago. I'm in the front end, and I find like really amazing the way it works. So you end up with like awesome queries that are like super flexible, and it's a very like extremely fun and empowering tech to work with. There is easy support by many languages, so the ecosystem for GraphQL is huge. You can do GraphQL with Ruby, with Python, with Java, with C#, .NET. So it's a range of like languages that support GraphQL. And one of the main points is just like you have one single endpoint. So you just need to do one call and you access all the available services that GraphQL provides you. So how this one single endpoint works. So here there is just a little graphic how it is. So let's say you have like your application here in the front. You can have a component or whatever it is, and it has a query. So the query is on the top. So you have blog posts and limits of 10, you're getting the title, the thumbnail, and the component. So that's the query that you send to your to the GraphQL endpoint, and what you get is this beautiful JSON data that in the bottom, and it looked similar to the query that you had before. So it's very like descriptive. You know what you're going to get when you request that to your server. And here's an example like how GraphQL is self-documented nature. So what we see before was like the same thing. You have like here on your left side in blue the GraphQL query, and on your right side in pink you have the data that comes from the result of the query. And you can see that it's like really similar. It's kind of repetitive, but in the end it's really clear. Like if you have on your query some object keys, that's what is going to come back on your data results. So this is really, really cool. So I'm going to talk a little bit of just a few core concepts from GraphQL, just 4 of them. I think you're just going to cover the basics. I'm not going to go too deep into it because it's just an introduction. Queries. So queries is the main one for getting data with GraphQL. So here on your left side you can see in blue structure of your query. And you can even have comments on your query, so this is really cool. You can have like information, and let's say friends would be a different collection on your database, or a different endpoint with another API. You could have everything together in just one query, what makes it very easy to work with. Another concept is filtering and sorting using arguments. So if you needed to just like select one specific ID when you do the query, you can just use arguments. So all the fields and all the objects inside the query, the GraphQL query, they accept arguments. So in this case here, you just pass in the ID. When you run the query, you get a specific response, like filtering for the specific ID. And of course, we need to talk about a mutation, because the query GraphQL is not just for getting data, but also for modifying and put data on your database. So here is an example of mutation. So mutation is what we use in GraphQL to modify some data on the server. In this case here, you can see on the bottom, on your left, that you have some variables. This is called variables. So you're just selecting what is the episode, the Jedi episode, let's say, and you're giving some reviews with the stars and a commentary. And you see on the top, there is the mutation query for GraphQL. You just needed to define using arguments. And when you run this query, you can see the result on the other side. The great review have the stars, then you pass on, and the commentaries too. And another core concept is schemas. So this is how you define your type of how your data is going to look like when you're using GraphQL. So you see here, it's very it's a strong type of query. So you know, like if you define a type of character with the name you define as a string, you know it's going to be a string. So this is really good for like when you needed to understand what type of data that you're getting back. So some of the benefits that GraphQL has is first of all is like you don't need to overfetch or underfetch any of the information that you need. So the client can decide what is going to be the shape of your data that you're going to cut from the server. So you don't need to get extra information in there. This is really cool. And by having this schema being very strong type, it's really easy to just look at the schema and know what is coming back from your API. So you know if it's a string, if it's a boolean, or if it's an array with information in there. So this is like really cool. And it enables rapid productive development. It means for us, especially front-end developers, it makes our life super easy because there is a lot of like GraphQL client libraries and frameworks that you can use, like Relay is from Facebook, but another one that is being really strong lately is Apollo. And with Apollo, you can like easily set up a whole environment in a few seconds. It's super friendly and really easy to use. And it's has a rich open source ecosystem and an amazing community. So since it was released in 2016, it's been growing a lot, and the community also, the query language is mature, and the community is growing a lot. So some of the companies that are using GraphQL. So of course we have Facebook, that was the company that developed the language, but we have other companies like Spotify, Netflix, Airbnb, and even Twitter. Twitter has its own API in a GraphQL type, so you can easily just use queries on your front end using the Twitter API. And there is many more. So seeing all this grow and a lot of other companies work with this query language, they decide that it was time to come out of the mothership company, come out of Facebook and start their own vendor-neutral foundation. So a few weeks ago, they launched the GraphQL Foundation that is hosted by Linux Foundation, and this is a pretty big deal because now it means that the development and the growth of this query language is going to be triggered by the community and not just from one company. So this is pretty good. And yeah, if you want to learn more about it, there is lots of good resources online. I would recommend just go to the .org. They have a learn path in there. Or if not, there is a pretty good one that's called howtographql.com. That is like pretty good resource. And for the girls that are here, because I see a lot of girls, yeah, Woman Who Code is going to give a GraphQL workshop on the December 4th. So if you're interested in to learn a little bit more, that is going to be it's going to be an amazing workshop. So I hope to see you there. And that's it. Thank you. Have any question, anything. I'm not a specialist on GraphQL, I'm not a specialist in REST API or anything. What happened was, I wanted to learn a little bit more about GraphQL. And when the guys contacted me like, oh, we need a technical talk, could you do something? And I was like, yeah, there is something that I wanted to learn more. So I put a time on it and I was like, okay, I'm going to learn a little bit more of GraphQL and I'm going to present something. So I end up learning a lot in this path here. And I would like to invite you to do the same. We are always looking here in our meetups to get more people to come and talk. You don't need to talk in English if you don't feel comfortable, you can do in Portuguese. But if you feel like you could give it even a lightning talk, a pretty quick one, 5 minutes, if you want to try to see how it goes, just come and talk to us, okay?
So for the workshop, what's the prerequisites for that, or what people need to bring to come and show? They just show up, they need to bring their own laptops?
Yes. Just go to the, there is the link in there for the workshop, on the GraphQL workshop. No, you just need to bring your laptop and probably have just IDE installed, like Visual Code or Sublime. But there is more information in the link, so... Or you can come and talk to me. Any other questions?